his travels, what he learned from all the chefs that he worked for, and what shaped him to becoming the chef that he is. About to sit down with Chef Alejandro at Winebar. I'm Chef Joe Friday, and this is Beyond the Blade.
Running it back, 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 and that's running it back, 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 running it back. Hey, 10 toes, I'ma never miss, bro.
So you're the chef here.
Yep.
And you got a pop-up that you're running to open your own restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So how did it all start?
We wanted to start a pop-up because we're looking at opening up a brick and mortar in Calgary. We're like, you know what? Let's work on the brand. Let's get some ideas down. Let's get those dishes out to the public. And we have a kind of a different concept. We want to go with fun dining, which is a little bit more general and a little bit less specific. So to showcase that to people and have a little bit of tangible, material to give them, we were like, let's do pop-ups and start getting this idea out there. Winebar Kensington comes into play because when we were looking at doing our first pop-up, I was working with one of my buddies, Phil, who was the chef here. And then we ended up doing a pop-up here. It was awesome. And Phil was looking for a change, so he moved on. I took over this spot, which, I used to work here when I was 13, 14 years ago when Cam used to own this place. So we're trying to keep that and keep the legacy of Winebar going really strong for the new owners and the new clientele, and just a little bit of updating, but that's why we're here.
Baby girl, won't you come my way? Hop up in that plane, maybe we could spend a day.
So my culinary journey started when I was 14, when I stepped in a kitchen, and I worked at Ito Japan, fast food. On the day of my 17th birthday, my parents bought me my first chef knife here in Calgary at a shop called Knifeware. And that's when I started. I worked at a diner that doesn't exist anymore on Stephen Avenue called Avenue Diner. And I decided I want to be a chef. I met a chef at Say called Michael Allemeyer, who's been my mentor for like 15 years. He got me my job at Mission Hill, which got me in contact with like a bunch of incredible professionals. And since then, I've just been cooking and traveling. And I believe this is restaurant number 37.
Wishing can get you half of that. They must believe when they see how we bring the smart attack.
What your style of cooking is in a box, what would it be?
Global fun cuisine. There's so many different experiences. I've traveled. I've lived in England and Australia and Hong Kong, Canada. I grew up in Argentina. And I think with one of the biggest things nowadays is, the early 2000s, fusion was seen as like a word that you didn't want to use because it was confused cooking. Now we're looking at a global cuisine, which is all these flavors that we've all tasted, the street food of so many of the cultures that we've gone to and visited and tasted the flavors of. And we want to capture the most fun and shareable and exciting food and flavors, and then start to present that to guests all in one little package. So instead of like shoehorning ourselves into a cuisine, we want to shoehorn ourselves into an atmosphere.
Any moments in your career that you didn't want to do it anymore?
No. That's one of the reasons I worked in so many restaurants, is that when I didn't feel comfortable, when I didn't love it, when I knew that I didn't want to be there anymore, and this happened to me in Hong Kong. I got hired out of Montreal by a company that was actually Canadian, and I worked for them for a while, but it wasn't a good fit. So then I worked at a 2 Michelin star kaiseki restaurant. That was awesome, learned a lot, but it wasn't a right fit. And then I ended up at a restaurant called Arcane with a chef called Shane Osborne, and I loved it. The food was my style, the team was my style, the vibe was my style, everything was my style, but I didn't love living in Hong Kong at that time. It's a really tough city to live in, so I moved.
Been laughed at before.
Yeah, I've always said I've kept myself uncomfortable in my career so I can keep striving and learning and growing as a chef, but I've always tried to find happiness in what I do.
Ever since I got this paper, now they trying to make amends. They just do not get the picture, had to change up with a lens. I don't like it.
The food scene in Canada, it seems like you've been a little bit everywhere. Where do you think the best cuisine is, and how was Montreal in particular?
I think the best food in all of Canada is in Montreal. And that's not just down to the chefs that cook there, but to the clientele. Chefs specifically in Calgary talk about guests who read menus. You have guests who come in and they know what they want. Don't give me that menu. I'll have the burger. And you go, well, we don't have a burger. It's a restaurant where you don't have a burger. In Montreal, people take time. They read your menu. They want to know where your head's at, what it's about. They want the story behind the dish so they can understand where you're coming from. And that opens you up to a whole new possibilities of cuisine. You have more trust as a base level, which then allows you to kind of create at a higher level than trying to pander to like a more mediocre demographic. So I think Montreal is fantastic for that.
I've been working, told them please don't hit my phone. I'm in my zone, bro.
What were the key things that you learned to kind of shape you as a chef right now?
I think one of the most important things, I tell my young cooks this, is that if you stay in one place for a long time, you need an incredible mentor, someone that's going to work with you consistently. And I've found a few in my career, Josh Bedell, Matthew Beatty. Those are people that have always identified what my strengths and weaknesses are. And I'm a very high energy individual. I get goals, I crush those goals, I need new goals, which takes a lot of energy. So that's one of the things, is find a good mentor if you're going to stay. And if you're not going to stay, realize that every time you move a restaurant or you move a city, you can leave behind all the bad things about you that you don't like. Yeah. So you sit down, you identify, you go, maybe I wasn't the best garde manger, maybe I didn't cook the vegetables the best, that steak. I crushed the steak, I crushed this, but maybe I didn't do these things. And then you go to a new restaurant and you say, okay, I'm not gonna focus on the steaks that I'm good at. I'm not gonna focus on making friends that I'm good at, but I will focus on perfect shallot brunoise. For me, it's always like, when you move, you're a phoenix. You shed everything bad about you, everything you hated about you, all the poor decisions you made at a restaurant, and then you go into the new restaurant and you go, I'm taking all the things I loved about that old cook that I used to be, and I will build on that foundation.
Every day I've been balling like the next. Talking money, I need a lot of it. So much I can't even really count it.
I got me a raviolo with egg yolk in the middle, and none other than the best thing in the world, smoked caviar. And look at all that caviar right there. That's more than your rent, son.
When I'm driving, hold the thighs. Got a head turning like the poltergeist. Ain't no more.
Yo, this is illegal. Illegal in every state. The saltiness on the caviar, absolutely exceptional. The egg yolk's so rich. The pasta is cooked to perfection. Chef knows what he's doing. Chef, you did it, baby. This right here is the bomb.